Her sport, her life.
This is Her Why.
Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
Welcome to Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Today I'm here with former BYU gymnast Emily Vidmar, who competed for the Cougars from 2013 to 2016 and was a key contributor on beam, bars, and floor. She's also the daughter of Olympic gold medalist Peter Vidmar. After graduating, Emily shifted from the gymnastics floor to the medical field. She completed an accelerated nursing program and worked as a registered nurse in pediatric and cardiac intensive care at Primary Children's Hospital. She recently welcomed her third baby and is relishing in her role as a mother. Emily, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Was all of that accurate?
Was all that
good?
Yes, that was perfect.
That's a lot. You've done a lot in your life. It's been 10 years since your time at BYU. Is that so crazy to think about?
It is crazy.
Oh my
I know,
gosh.
the whole trend, back at the beginning of the year was 10 years ago.
That's right.
What were you doing? And I looked back, I was like, it's actually a really big year for me 10 years ago. I was like, I finished my last year at BYU gymnastics, and that was when I got married, and that was when I started nursing school. It was that was a big year.
My gosh. Well, give us an update about what life looks like for you these days.
So I was a nurse for about 8 years. I was working, and I just had my third baby in July, and I actually ended up stepping away from work for right now, kind of just trying to, figure out what I want to do with work. But for right now, it's been really nice to just be home with my 3 kids and not have to worry about work and just really embrace being a stay-at-home mom. It's kind of nice.
Because that's an intense job to work in the ICU at Primary Children's.
Yeah.
Would you say life is harder now as a mom of young kids or being a student athlete at BYU? What's harder?
They're just different challenges. Yeah. They're totally different. I would say they're kind of, being a mom, I feel like is harder in a way just because it's more important. You're raising children. There's a lot more lasting effect in my life right now than it was as as an athlete and a student athlete and stuff. So
absolutely. Different. You went from 2 babies to 3, which I only have 2 kids, so I don't know. I hear that's a really big transition. What's that been like for you?
To me, it only hasn't been too bad. I think it helps that I stepped away from work because I don't have to worry about that. And I have a daughter who's in full day school now, which is really nice. And so I feel like it hasn't been horrible. It's definitely different when we go places. It's, you're outnumbered now because you got 3 to 1.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to teach your oldest to just start to be more independent in things, which I think is good for her to kind of learn that independence when you have to kind of deal with the little too.
Right.
So, it's, and you have to have the expectation that going places is just going to take longer.
Oh, you're telling me you have to have more patience than you already have. Oh, that's tough to do. I love that you had a surprise. You didn't know the gender of your baby until you actually had him. He ended up being a boy.
Yes.
What was the reaction of your 2 girls when they found out they had a baby brother?
They were so excited. They loved it. I thought it was funny because my oldest kept saying, she originally was saying oh, I want a girl because I have a sister. I want a girl. And then after he was born and it was a boy, she's like, no, I always wanted a boy. It was going to be a boy. I knew it. I was like, oh, okay.
How old's your oldest girl?
She's 5.
Okay.
5.5.
That sounds about right. That sounds like my 5-year-old who knows everything.
Yes.
They know everything. Before this chapter of motherhood and after competing in gymnastics, you built a career in healthcare. You graduated from BYU in exercise science and then later earned your nursing degree from the University of Utah. How did that path come together for you and why did you choose that?
So I kind of always knew I wanted to do nursing. And BYU has a nursing program, but I was also a gymnast. And talking to people, my sister had a friend who did track and nursing. And I remember talking to her and just talking about the program. And it was really hard to do both. Because the nursing program it's a lot of work, a lot of hours just with clinicals and everything. And then also, your sport takes a lot of work. And it was easier for a runner when they can kind of run on their own. But as a gymnast, I didn't really have that option. I can't just go into the gym anytime I want and practice. And so I ended up deciding, I didn't want to I wanted to really excel in my career as a gymnast, and I also wanted to excel in school. And I felt like if I did nursing and gymnastics, I wouldn't have been able to excel as well in either of them. Like I felt like one would have had to kind of taking a step back to do well in the other. So I decided I was just going to do an exercise science degree because it had a lot of the nursing prerequisites in it. I knew I wanted to do something medical, whether I sticked with nursing or not after. And it was great because I was able to have a really good gymnastics career and I was able to do really well in school and kind of do well at both of them without like overstraining myself.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Yeah, and then I really lucked out that I just happened to get into the nursing program at the U. So I knew they had this accelerated program, and so that was kind of like my number one choice just because it was close. It was only 4 semesters, and I actually got on the wait list to start in the fall. And I was just kind of like, okay, like figure something out until, if I get in or not. And they told me, they're like, oh, you will actually most likely get into the next semester starting in the winter. Yeah. So I was kind of like, okay, so I just got to work for 6 months and then I'll get in the winter. And then I remember I was at Lake Powell and it was in August and, fall semester starts end of August. And I ended up getting accepted to start in January. And when you got accepted to nursing school, they have to drug test you like within 3 days or something. And I remember calling them because I was like, I'm at Lake Powell. Yeah. Like, I can't get drug tested until I'm back, and it's going to be another week. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, that's fine. They just have to, like, do a hair drug test or something because apparently the drugs stay longer in your hair.
Oh, my goodness.
But then they're like, but also a spot just opened up to start in next week. Do you want to start? And I was just like, wait, what?
You're like, wow.
And I was like, well, I'm literally just going to be doing nothing until I start in January. So I was like, sure, I'll start next week. And so then I ended up starting the next I had I think 10 days that I started nursing school. So it was kind of crazy, but I'm really glad I did it because I could just get it done quicker. And I met really awesome people that were in my cohort there. And yeah, I was glad it worked out.
What a whirlwind. But then you got to get going. Like you mentioned, you're like, let's not wait around. Let's just do this. Mm-hmm. What drew you specifically to working at a children's hospital?
So when I went into nursing, I had no medical background. My background was gymnastics. Mm-hmm. And so I honestly didn't, realize exactly what nursing was until I started doing all my clinicals and working and everything. And so I remember doing we had this one semester that was really heavy on clinicals. We had 2 a week for 10 hours. And I was in the adults and stuff, and nothing really spoke to me. I was like, I just don't know if I really enjoy doing this. I do know that emergency medicine and ICU was really interesting to me. My adult ICU rotations were kind of just not as exciting as I thought they would be. And then I went to pediatrics and I did a couple of rotations at primaries, and I was like, oh, I love pediatrics. I would way rather work with kids. But then I loved the idea of emergency medicine, just ICU care. And so I was like, pediatric ICU, I feel like that's a good fit. And so then I did my capstone. So at the end of your nursing degree, you kind of follow a nurse for 200 hours. So a lot of hours you follow a nurse, and I was lucky enough to do it at Primary Children's. And I did it in their float pool. So I got to float to all the units at Primary Children's. And it was awesome because I was able to kind of see what I enjoyed. And I got to spend a lot of time in the pediatric ICU. And I was like, that's my home. I knew I wanted to do that. And even my preceptor was like, yeah, I could tell that was what you enjoyed.
It seems to me, kids are a lot tougher than adults too. Did you find that in your training and
Yeah, I just feel like kids are just so resilient, and they're so just innocent too. Yeah. It's I just love that about kids, and I just want to help them.
I love that you got to do that. You mentioned how competing on beam helped you manage pressure and emotions, and how focusing on small details in gymnastics carries over into nursing. Mm-hmm. So thinking back at your time in the ICU, was there a moment that you feel like those skills that you developed as a gymnast really mattered as a nurse?
So 100% competing on beam is learning how to compete on beam was huge for me. And that's the one thing the biggest thing I miss about gymnastics was competing on beam, because I figured it out. Like my freshman year, I was not great. It was rough, but I figured it out. Like by the time I was a junior, senior, like I knew how to go on the beam, hit my routine every time. And that pressure you have on the beam is huge. Like all your teammates are counting on you. I was always at the end of the lineup, but being able to just block out that outside noise and just focus on this is my task. This is what I'm doing. I don't worry about, if 2 people fell before me. I don't worry about what's going to happen next. Like I just have to focus on what I'm doing in that moment. And I learned how to do that. And that skill is so necessary in an ICU because there are so many situations that you're in when you're especially in like a code situation, if a patient is coding, first of all, you have a team of doctors, nurses, techs, like everyone's there to help. But you have a task. Like if it's your patient, your job is to like give the meds and being able to just block out all that outside noise. There's tons of noise outside, like alarms are going off, parents are crying, like things are happening. And you just have to block that all out and just be like, my job is to fill this medication and know where to give it and do those kind of things and be able to just block out that almost like the emotion out of it and just focus on your task is like I've learned how to do that on beam, and that really helped me to do that in the ICU, just like in those high pressure moments, especially when it's like a kid's life in your hands.
Right.
Just like being able to block out that emotion and just focus on the task at hand.
Oh, that is so much pressure. That feels so heavy. God bless all the healthcare workers. I'm not kidding for doing this, especially that work with kids. So after becoming a mom and raising your own kids while still working, did your experience working with little kids in the ICU start to feel a little different?
Not necessarily. I feel like I was really good at knowing, like, this is work and this is my family. Like, these are my kids. It does really just make me appreciate the health of my kids. Yeah. Just, like, coming home and being like, I get to hug my kids tonight and put them to bed and just, appreciating that I have healthy kids. And, it's just, I feel like that was one of the biggest things. But I was good at, like, trying not to let the emotions hit me when it was other kids.
Right. Mm-hmm. When you got home, were you pretty good about compartmentalizing? Like, I can let go of everything I saw at work and just focus on my kids now. Mm-hmm. You stepped away from nursing shortly after your third baby. What has that transition been like for you? Because from the time you were little, you're doing gymnastics, then you step into this really intense, schooling and career, and now it's a totally different lifestyle. How's that transition been like?
It's been good. Yeah, it's like, again, it's nice to just not have to worry about work in the night shifts. So I did mostly night shifts, and like, it makes a huge difference when I can get sleep every night. Yeah. And I didn't work a ton before I had my third, so I only worked 1 shift a week before I had my third. And it was a night shift, but even that one night shift, like, it really makes a difference. Like, I loved the night shift, but did not how it made me feel after. Yeah. Oh, I can't. That was the hardest part.
I can't even imagine doing a night shift and then waking up to be a mom the next morning.
And there were some days where I didn't get to sleep, where it was like I had to go home, and it was immediately to, okay, let's get you guys breakfast, let's feed you guys, and I wouldn't be able to get to nap until they took naps. Oh my goodness! And I've had a couple of days like that, and that was hard.
Were you just delirious? I don't know how
and
you could do
your
that.
patience is a little not as patient as you would like to be sometimes, but you got to give yourself grace.
So now you're like, I get to sleep. Yes. This is so great. Do you ever hope to see yourself back in nursing one day?
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like I've been thinking a lot more about it lately too. Like it's only been 7 months technically since I've been done. Yeah. And I would love to go back into nursing for sure. I just don't know if that is back to what I was doing or something else. I actually got offered my dream job 2 weeks before I had my second baby.
Oh, wow.
So that was a really hard decision for me. So it was 2 weeks for my second baby, and I got offered the job to be a life flight nurse. which that's always like, once I started in the PICU, I knew like I would love to do life flight. Like I think that like that was like the next step I wanted to do. And I ended up getting offered that job. But I was 2 weeks before my second baby, and it was just like, I ended up declining it because I was like, I'm about to have my second baby. I have no idea what life is going to be like with 2 kids, and the scheduling with Life Flight was definitely going to be more busy, and like the hours are not as predictable and things. And so I was just like, I just don't think I can make that decision now. And that was really hard because, you know, I was just like, felt like that opportunity was gone.
Yeah.
But even talking to people, it was like, you know, that job is always going to be there. Like, it will be there. Like, in 10 years from now, they're still going to need life flight nurses, but my babies aren't going to be babies anymore. And so I ultimately decided, like, you know what, I'm just going to take a step back and, you know, focus on being with my kids as they're little. And then as they get older and as, you know, maybe once they're all in school, I can, you know, maybe look back at doing that job.
Right.
But we'll kind of see. I don't know.
I think that's a really good perspective. And something will always open up. It always does, right?
Yes.
Just like it did with the University of Utah. And it always works out in the end. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, Emily reflects on growing up in a gymnastics family and her own journey competing at BYU. This is Her Why. Family. Isn't it about sports? At least that's the case in my family. We're all about family and sports on the Royal Legacy podcast, hosted by yours truly. We dive deep into the family connections of the Cougars who played and coached at BYU. New episodes every Thursday on the BYU Radio app or wherever you catch your podcasts. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McClain, here with former BYU gymnast Emily Vidmar Day. So you grew up in a family very deeply connected in the gymnastics world, where your last name carried a lot of weight in the sport. We mentioned your dad was a gold medalist in the 1984 Olympics. Is that right?
Yes.
Did people recognize your last name when you were younger and when you started competing? Were they like, oh, that sounds familiar?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Especially in California and especially here in Utah. I feel like a lot of people knew the name Vidmar. In women's gymnastics, not quite as much as men's gymnastics. But you definitely, the older generation, definitely recognize the name.
What did you think about that when you were little? Did you love talking about your dad and his career? Were you kind of like, all right, let's focus on something else?
I feel like it really wasn't a big highlight. I will say I had some benefits being a gymnast, and my dad being a gymnast or being connected in the world. I remember they had like the 2003 World Championships in Anaheim. And I got to go, and we had like VIP seats, and I got to meet the gymnasts, and that was just the coolest thing ever. So I had some perks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, both of your parents were high-level gymnasts. Your mom and dad both went to UCLA. Obviously, your dad went to the Olympics. When did you first realize how much your parents had accomplished in that sport?
I feel like pretty young. Like, I feel like every gymnast, when they're little, their dream is to go to the Olympics. Like, that is every little gymnast's dream, and that was my dream. And until I was, like, in middle school, or probably, like, 8th grade, I realized, like, you know, that dream probably isn't for me. I don't think I'm quite at that level. And it does make you appreciate, like, how much work does go in to get to that level. And that was at the point where I realized, like, you know, college is what I'm going to go for. And that was when I really started focusing on getting ready for college.
Because your dad had done it, was it like a heartbreaking realization, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go to the Olympics? Or were you like, well, that's okay, I'll find my own path?
Yeah, I wasn't that upset about it. I was like, oh, it was way too far of a goal for me. So,
so you're like, I'm
like,
okay with this.
College was a good choice.
It's more fun too, from what I hear.
Yes.
How much did your parents talk to you about kind of their own journeys and try and coach you up when you were little?
So, funny story. My dad actually they never really coached me at all. And my dad even says, like, I think that was, like, the biggest reason why you didn't, like, quit the sport, or like that's why you loved it and kept going, was because we didn't coach you, we didn't push you into it. And Which I agree. I feel like the second, like, my mom or someone tried to coach me when I was, 14, I was like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But they actually did know what they were talking about. But they were great at, my dad was especially great at just, like, the motivation part of things.
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that they understood gymnastics was awesome because a lot of my teammates, like, their families didn't understand gymnastics. Like, they'd say, oh, I learned this new skill. And they'd be like, I don't know what that is. But,
Cool.
like, my parents knew what skills I was learning and how hard it is to get these skills. And so it was cool to have parents that understood that.
Isn't that interesting, especially as teenage girls for some reason? Something with your parents. You're like, I don't want you to coach me. I don't want you to tell me what to do.
For sure.
That makes me feel better. My dad always says, you are so uncoachable. I'm like, well, just for you, not for anybody else. That's such an interesting dynamic. Even with that strong family background, you mentioned your dad didn't pressure you or your mom to follow in the same path. So what made you want to continue in gymnastics?
I just loved it. I had great coaches. I had great teammates, and that makes a big difference. And I loved it. I thought it was fun, and I was a very hard worker, and I wanted to, see my hard work go somewhere.
You have 4 other siblings. Where do you fall in your family?
I'm the youngest.
You are the youngest.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know your sister competed on BYU's track and field team. Were there any other gymnasts in your family? Your siblings?
They all kind of did it at one point,
Okay.
but I was the only one that stuck with it all the way through high school and stuff.
And your parents are like, yes, here we go. She's the one. No, I'm sure they loved anything your siblings did.
Yes.
Was competing in any type of sport something that your parents emphasized growing up? They just wanted you to stay active and be in sports? Or did you all just kind of gravitate to it?
For sure. They were like, they wanted us to be active. Like my brothers, I know when they quit gymnastics, my parents were like, okay, yeah, well, you got to find a new sport.
Yeah.
And like two of my brothers actually got into wrestling, and it was cool because, my dad knew nothing about wrestling, but he got really into it because of my brothers doing it. And so it was cool to see how supportive and into it he got because they were doing it.
That interview you guys did several years ago with BYU Sports Nation, I remember him talking about how he didn't really get nervous watching you do gymnastics because he understood it so well, which to me, like, it's such a scary sport, right? It feels like there's so much risk. But then he mentioned watching your brothers wrestle, it made him more nervous because he didn't know what was going on. So I thought that was so interesting because from the outside, gymnastics just seems so dangerous, But yes, when you understand something, it kind of takes that risk away.
Yeah.
Growing up with a dad who competed at the Olympic level, what is something he modeled for you that shaped you beyond gymnastics?
I remember my first gymnastics meet when I was like a level 5, like very brand new. My dad told me, he's like, out of all the gymnasts here, you have worked the hardest. And because of that, like, no matter what happens, like, you just need to know that you worked very hard. And I remember that to this day. Like, I was really little, but I took that to heart, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I am a hard worker. I did work really hard to be here. And so I just know that, if we work hard and everything that we're doing in our life, like, we'll be able to see success from it.
I like that a lot. What about your mom? What's something that she taught you, maybe even outside of the sport, that's really stuck with you?
So this is kind of, I don't know, this is the first thing that came to my mind for some reason, but she, reminded me to always have fun with it. And one thing I thought was really cool is my mom, so she was a UCLA gymnast. And to this day, many, many years later, she still talks to her teammates, and they'll, like, plan on going to gymnastics meets together for UCLA, and, like, they're still in touch. And I was like, I love that, and I want that to, I would love that for me and my teammates. And it's just so fun because I do have, like, those relationships I've made on my team, I'm still best friends with a lot of those girls, and we still get together all the time. And it's like, we might not see each other for a year, but when we're together, it's like no time has passed.
Well, you were a family for that long, right? You spend so much time and blood, sweat, and tears together. I can imagine that's such a strong bond. Now that you're a mom yourself, what's it been like seeing your mom and dad step into the role of grandparents?
Oh, they're great.
Which it sounds like you're the youngest, so they probably had other grandkids before yours came up, right?
Yeah, actually not a ton of grandkids. We did get 4 grandkids all in 2020.
Oh my gosh.
So that was the big year. There's only 2 before that, and then 4 all came in 1 year.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that was a busy year. But it's been that they're awesome. Like whenever I need help with anything, like they're there to help, and they are great babysitters. They love to spoil our kids, and so my kids love them.
You spent 4 years competing at BYU. This is a loaded question because that's a long time. Or 3 years.
I did 4.
4 years.
Yeah.
What did that season of life mean to you when you look back? We mentioned it's been 10 years since you finished. Mm-hmm. When you look back, what does that time mean to you?
It is a loaded question.
I know. How do you sum up those 4 years? I don't know.
Seriously. Yeah, that was just a huge part of my life. Like I feel like all the hard work I did for gymnastics, like it's not an easy sport. It takes up most of your life growing up, and being able to do it in a college setting, like made all of that work worth it. Like it was so fun, and I learned so much from it, and it just really does kind of shape who you are, and just having that work ethic and having that teamwork mindset going into everything in life. Like it was just a really good time, and I loved it.
What did being part of that team teach you about leadership? And you mentioned a little bit about building relationships too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, as you, like my first year at BYU, it was a struggle. It was a rough year for me, but I took that and was like, you know what, this is not going to be all my 4 years here. And I really worked hard to change that. And then, by your 4th year, it's like, now I'm here to help the freshmen do that same thing. Like it's a big adjustment for a lot of these freshmen, and to be able to teach them how to do that. And then same with nursing, like starting in a pediatric and cardiac ICU is a lot of work as a new grad. Like it's not the easiest job to start into, but I did that. And then being able to also coach new grads after that was really fun, to be like, hey, I was in your feet, because they always be like, wow, you know so much. Like it can be really overwhelming. And I just tell them, like, I was in your exact same position. Like I did not have any medical experience going into this. And like, look at me now. I know what I'm doing, and you'll be there too.
I think it's such a beautiful thing, how many things you can take from your sport and just apply to everyday life, everything about your life. I feel like you learn so much from athletics. After your competitive career ended, you stayed involved in gymnastics through coaching. Are you still connected to the sport anyway now?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my daughters do some tumbling now.
Okay, I love it.
But I wish I was more connected, but it was, with doing nursing and then having kids, like it was hard. I do love coming to all the BYU gymnastics meets, taking my girls. They love going, meeting Cosmo, and I think their biggest highlight is just getting ice cream, but For sure.
Yep, they're at that age. Is gymnastics something, because it meant so much to you, is it something you would love to see your kids compete in?
Not necessarily. Like, if they love it and that's what they want to do, for sure, I will 100% support them. But also, like, I know how much of a different life I had as a gymnast. Yeah. And I know, like, it's not for everyone. And if they want to do something else, like, I fully support that. My husband did volleyball at BYU. Yeah. And I honestly think it would be so fun to have, like, hardcore volleyball players.
Yeah, because you're not short. I mean, that sounds so bad, but gymnasts are usually really, how tall are you?
I'm like 5'4".
Okay. I mean, that's still kind of tall for a gymnast, right? So your kids can be taller?
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever they want to do, like, I want to support. I definitely want them to be athletic and to do sports. It doesn't necessarily have to be gymnastics. But even if they start in gymnastics, like, that body awareness, and I think is great. Mm-hmm. But if they don't want to do it, I'm not going to push it.
But do you feel like sports is something, and in some regard, that's so important for your kids to grasp onto, to learn?
For sure. I definitely want them to be involved in sports in one way or another.
Yeah. How do you approach challenges now because of your career as a gymnast and working in healthcare, because you've met so many challenges that you've faced head on? How has that kind of changed how you do it even in your daily life as a mom?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is to just realize to only focus on like what you can control. I feel like that's a big thing. It's like, I remember thinking about that in gymnastics. You can't control what the judges are going to give you, but you can control like what you do.
Yeah.
And even in nursing, like you can't control like some of the outcomes of whatever happened, but you know, you can control just like those little things that your job is. And I just think I like to think about that when things are hard or whatever. I just think like, well, what can I do right now to make it better? Or what are things like, and just being grateful for the things that are happening. And I just, this is like when your kids are little, like this is the ultimate time of life. I think that all the time. I'm like, because they love you. They want to be with you. It's just the best. And I want to just cherish these moments as much as I can, even though it's hard. Like these are the days that we're going to look back on when we're older and just think like this is where I want to be when I'm older, is when my kids are little. And so I try to think that all the time, and it helps to just make it know that like this is worth it.
I love that. I think that's beautiful, and I totally 100% agree. Gymnastics and other sports can be so all-encompassing, especially at a collegiate level. I mean, gymnastics, even way before the college level, it's all-encompassing. I feel like when student athletes are trying to think of what to do beyond their sport, it can be debilitating and really hard because that's been their identity for so long. You figured it out. So what advice would you give to student athletes thinking about their life after college sports?
I would say to just find something that you are interested in and to just go after it. Like rather than, like, don't reminisce on the past. Like obviously learn from whatever you did in the past. Yeah. But to think of, and to kind of have an idea before, like, you retire, because I know, like, if you didn't think about it at all and then all of a sudden you're done, like, that's, like, a lot to kind of process. And so to kind of have that idea, like, these are the kind of the directions I would like to go in, and then to just, you got to go after it. If you know what you want to do, just go after it like you would if it was your sport.
So good. I'm here with former BYU gymnast Emily Vidmar Day. Emily, you are amazing and beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time. You are so busy, so I appreciate you coming here today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks to Anna Burkholder and Noelani Lopes for producing this episode with senior producer Cleon Wall. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.